Hello and welcome to the second part of my Axial SCX10 build. I apologise for the long gap between videos, but I had to wait for some parts I ordered to correct a mistake I made when fitting the body. In the last video I built the axles, shocks and suspension links and put them together ready to fit on the chassis. I also cut out and painted the body, applied the decals and assembled and fitted the cage. So the next step is to assemble the transmission. When I bought the kit 2 years ago, I also bought this 5-slot 16-turn brush motor, which is similar to a 35-turn 3-slot brush motor, but a lot smoother. And these are the other parts for the transmission. And it has metal bearings, and the gears are a mixture of metal and plastic. The motor plate and parts of the slipper clutch are also metal. I use a piece of yellow post-it note to adjust the gap between the pinion gear and spur gear. I find using this gives the perfect gap. And now the transmission is built. The next step is the steering. The servo I'm using is this, and it was very cheap from AliExpress. And I'll be using this metal servo horn on it. These are the other parts for the steering, which include these metal upgrade steering links that come in the kit. Now it's assembled, I can test it. The next step is always my favourite when I build a kit, and it's installing the parts into the chassis. For me, this is when the RC starts to come alive. Now the transmission is in, the next stage is to install the axles and suspension and attach the drive shafts to the transmission. Now that stage is complete, I can fit the other parts to the chassis. These include the receiver box, side steps and battery tray. The manual instructs you to put the receiver in the box and stick the ESC to the outside of it so it sits between the receiver box and the motor. But I've got this Spectrum ESC 2-in-1 combo and a Spectrum DX3 transmitter which I bought when I got the kit. So as I'm not using a separate receiver, I've put the ESC combo in the box. And because of its size, I can't use the lid, but that's not a problem because without it the ESC won't get hot in there. Okay, so now I'm going to test the electrics now they're in the chassis, and I shall first turn on the transmitter and then the ESC receiver. Now I have to wait a few seconds for the battery to register on the transmitter, and there we go. Okay, so now we'll try it out. And that all seems to be working fine. Now it's ready for the next stage, which is to fit the shackles to the front bumper and fit the bumper to the chassis. Next is assembling the wheels and tyres, and I'm not using the wheels that come with the kit because they're plastic and you have to glue the tyres to them. So I'm using these RC 4-wheel drive metal beadlock wheels which I've had for a few years waiting for a project. But I am fitting the Axial tyres and foams that come with the kit to them. And the tyres are Axial R35 sticky compound Maxxis Trepadors. The wheel hexes that come with the kit are metal, and I fit them to the axles, securing them with grub screws. And that completes the wheel and tyre section. Then I make the mistake I mentioned while fitting the body onto the chassis. Unfortunately, I hadn't marked the body post holes correctly and it was off centre. I started to correct this by enlarging the rear holes to move it across, thinking this would be hidden a bit when I put the cage back on. but I decided to scrap that idea as I wouldn't be able to disguise the front holes if I enlarged them. So I ordered some magnetic body mounts to fit the body, which arrived a week later. I have these leftover decals from my Axial Jeep Cherokee build, and my thoughts are to use these two vents to cover the front holes, and two of these triangle shapes to cover the rear holes. The magnetic body mounts come with several parts, but I'm only going to use these. I push the top parts directly into the shock towers as you would if you used the plastic body posts, and I secure them with body clips. Then I level the body at the front using foam and bits of Lexan before gluing the top magnets to it. When I put it on the chassis, it was centered and level. So I cover the holes with the decals, and I'm happy with how it looks now. The next job is to fit the light buckets to the inside of the front grille. But first I'll make holes in the back and push some LEDs into them, and secure these in position with hot glue. I use some double-sided tape to stick the light buckets and use electrical tape to stick the wires to the body. I also put some LEDs in the front bumper. The final job is to fit my driver. I have to cut in below the arms to fit into the cab of the Jeep because it hasn't got a deep interior. I install the steering wheel and stick my driver in with servo tape. Then I put the cage back on and the build is complete. Thank you very much for watching.